Have you ever wondered what it would be like to step into someone else's shoes, especially someone who's used to fame and admiration? What if they decided to try living a day in the life of an ordinary person, working an everyday job, with no special treatment or recognition? Imagine Song Hye-kyo, one of South Korea's most beloved actresses, deciding to disguise herself as a barista at a bustling cafe. What happens when she faces the challenges of this new life, and how does she handle being humiliated in front of strangers? It's an ordinary morning in a busy city cafe, where customers are gathered around tables, sipping their coffee, typing away on their laptops, or chatting with friends. The atmosphere is warm and inviting, the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee filling the air. But there's a twist in today's routine. Song Hye-kyo, known for her elegance and poise, has decided to disguise herself and experience the life of a barista. No one knows who she is, and she intends to keep it that way. Wearing a simple apron and a cap to hide her signature hairstyle, Song Hye-kyo steps behind the counter and begins to prepare coffee as if she's been doing it for years. The other baristas, unaware of her true identity, greet her with a polite nod and show her the ropes. "We're just getting started, so no pressure," one of them says, handing her the coffee machine with a smile. "It can get pretty busy, but we've got a great team here." Song Hye-kyo smiles back, grateful for the kindness. She's excited for the experience. She wants to see firsthand how people in this role are treated. As an actress, she's used to being adored by fans and constantly in the public eye, but today, she's just another barista, blending into the background. She's ready for the challenge, even though she has no idea what's coming. The day begins quietly. She serves coffee to a few customers, takes orders with a smile, and follows the instructions given by her colleagues. Everything seems manageable at first, and for a while, it feels like she's just another person working behind the counter. But soon, things begin to change. A well-dressed man in his mid-40s walks up to the counter with a loud and demanding tone. "Excuse me," he says, glancing at Song Hye-kyo, not recognizing her. "This coffee is terrible. It's cold. I specifically asked for it extra hot. Can you fix this?" Song Hye-kyo, trying to maintain her calm, nods. "I'm sorry about that, sir. I'll make sure to get it just right for you." But the man is not satisfied. "You people always mess things up. How do you expect to run a proper cafe if you can't even make a cup of coffee correctly?" he continues, his voice growing louder for everyone around to hear. Song Hye-kyo feels the sting of his words, but she remains composed, knowing that in her role, she can't let this affect her. As she remakes the coffee, the man continues to mutter insults under his breath, making comments about the staff's incompetence. Other customers glance up, some looking uncomfortable, but no one says anything. Song Hye-kyo delivers the new coffee to him with a polite smile, hoping that will be the end of it. But then, the man takes a sip and makes a face. "It's still not right," he snaps, clearly irritated. "I'm sorry, but this is just unacceptable. I demand to speak to your manager right now." The humiliation is intense. Song Hye-kyo tries to brush it off, but she can't help but feel the weight of his words. Her heart races as the tension rises. The other baristas glance at each other, unsure of how to handle the situation. It's clear that the man is deliberately making a scene. She takes a deep breath and prepares herself to confront the situation head-on. This wasn't part of her plan, but it was exactly the kind of experience she wanted. She wasn't just here to make coffee, she was here to understand what it's like when no one cares about your status, your fame, or your reputation. As the manager arrives to resolve the issue, Song Hye-kyo stays calm, her thoughts racing. How will she handle this moment? Will she cower under the pressure, or will she rise above the humiliation? The manager arrives quickly, his presence immediately commanding attention. The man looks up, somewhat surprised to see the manager. "Finally," he exclaims. "I've been waiting for a proper response to this disaster of a coffee." Song Hye-kyo stands by quietly, observing how the situation unfolds. The manager listens intently, his face betraying no emotion as the man vents his frustration. "This is ridiculous," the man continues. "I've been to this cafe before, and I've never been treated like this. I demand a refund for my coffee and an apology for the way I've been treated." The manager nods, acknowledging the complaint, but remains calm and respectful. I apologize for the inconvenience, sir, he says. We take customer feedback seriously, and I will ensure we take the necessary steps to make things right. Despite the manager's professional handling of the situation, the man continues to make sarcastic comments, his voice growing louder. I can't believe this, he mutters. How did they hire someone like her? His words sting, but Song Hye-kyo holds her ground, refusing to let her emotions get the best of her. She looks around the cafe, noticing that a few customers are now watching the exchange closely. The embarrassment she feels is overwhelming, but she's determined not to let it break her. As the manager offers the man a refund and attempts to smooth things over, Song Hye-kyo feels a moment of clarity. This situation is exactly why she wanted to experience this. She wanted to see what it was like to be treated poorly, to understand what countless workers go through every day. As the man grumbles and exits the cafe with his refund, the tension in the room begins to ease. The other customers return to their conversations, and the staff exhales in relief. The manager turns to Song Hye-kyo, who is still standing behind the counter, the weight of the experience evident on her face. You handled that well, the manager says, his tone appreciative. That could have escalated, but you remained calm. I know it wasn't easy. Song Hye-kyo nods, still processing the encounter. Thank you. I didn't expect it to be so intense. But I'm glad I didn't let it affect me. Her colleagues give her a sympathetic smile, recognizing the difficulty of the situation. The rest of the shift passes without incident, but the experience stays with Song Hye-kyo. For the first time, she truly understands the pressure that workers in customer service face on a daily basis. It's not just about the job, it's about dealing with people who sometimes forget that those who serve them are human beings too. As her shift finally comes to an end, Song Hye-kyo steps outside for some fresh air. The hustle and bustle of the city is still around her, but today, it feels different. She feels more connected to the world outside the celebrity bubble she's lived in for so long. She's been on both sides now. She's experienced the spotlight and the anonymity, the admiration and the criticism. As she walks down the street, a realization dawns on her. This experience was never about proving anything to anyone else. It was about discovering her own strength, her own resilience. She didn't need to be a famous actress to have value. She was enough just as she was, and she knew now that the respect she demanded from others started with respecting herself. The following days bring more perspective as Song Hye-kyo reflects on the lessons she learned. Her time as a barista wasn't just a passing experiment, it was an eye-opening journey into understanding the importance of respect for all, no matter their role or status. It's something she carries with her into every interaction, whether on set, with fans, or with people she meets in her daily life. One afternoon, Song Hye-kyo visits a local cafe, this time as herself, no disguise, no costume. She takes a seat at the counter, observing the barista behind the counter, making drinks and engaging with customers. She's struck by the thought of how easy it is to overlook the person preparing your coffee, simply because they are doing their job. But now, she can't help but see them as an equal, a person deserving of the same respect and recognition as anyone else. As she waits for her drink, she overhears a conversation at a nearby table. A man is complaining about the quality of his coffee, muttering insults about the barista's skill. Song Hye-kyo feels a surge of empathy for the barista, who is doing her best to serve the customer. Without thinking, she stands up, walks over to the table, and politely addresses the man. I think we could all benefit from being a little kinder to those who serve us, she says, her voice calm but firm. The man looks at her, surprised by the sudden interruption, but before he can respond, Song Hye-kyo turns to the barista and offers a smile. Your coffee was perfect. Thank you for the great service. The barista, clearly taken aback, smiles warmly. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. The man, now realizing the situation, shifts uncomfortably in his seat, unable to retort. As Song Hye-kyo walks away, she feels a quiet sense of satisfaction. This is what she wants to change in the world, not just with words, but with actions. A small act of kindness can make all the difference. The days following Song Hye-kyo's public stand for respect begin to shape her not just as an actress, but as an advocate for dignity in the workplace. Her experience as a barista and the challenges she faced while disguised have opened her eyes to the often unseen struggles that service workers endure every day. As she continues her work with the campaign, Song Hye-kyo's perspective begins to shift in profound ways. She starts incorporating her lessons into every aspect of her life, from her role as an actress to her interactions with the people she meets in everyday settings. She takes the time to recognize the small, often overlooked gestures that make a big difference. A simple thank you, a smile to someone working tirelessly behind the scenes, a kind word to a barista, it all adds up. One morning, while walking to a cafe for her usual coffee, she notices the familiar barista she had spoken to weeks ago, the one who had thanked her for inspiring a new sense of self-worth. This time, the young woman's demeanor is different. She walks with her head held high, a small but confident smile on her face as she prepares drinks for customers. As Song Hye-kyo steps up to the counter, the barista greets her warmly. "I remember you," the barista says with a bright smile. "You're the one who came in and told me I mattered." Song Hye-kyo returns the smile, her heart swelling with pride. "How have you been?" she asks, genuinely curious. The barista's smile widens. "I've been great. Honestly, I feel like I've had a transformation. Ever since you shared your story, I've started to hold my head up higher. I realized I don't have to feel invisible just because I'm behind the counter. I've been getting more positive feedback from customers too." Song Hye-kyo is moved by the barista's words. "That's amazing," she says. "You deserve to be recognized. Your work is important, and so are you." The barista hands her coffee with a renewed sense of pride, and Song Hye-kyo can see the difference in her confidence. This small interaction, one that might seem insignificant to others, means everything to the young woman behind the counter. As Song Hye-kyo walks away, she feels a sense of fulfillment she hasn't experienced before. She doesn't just see the world differently now, she is actively changing it, one interaction at a time. Her influence may not be about making headlines or breaking records, but in these quiet, meaningful moments, she realizes that her true impact lies in the respect she fosters in others. Later that week, Song Hye-kyo was asked to attend a meeting with other celebrities who have become advocates for service workers' rights. It's a gathering of individuals who, like her, have used their platform to raise awareness about the importance of respecting all people, no matter their job. As she enters the room, she's struck by the collective energy in the air. These people, from all different backgrounds, are united by a common cause to ensure that every individual is treated with the dignity they deserve. One by one, they share their stories of how they've used their influence to encourage respect for service workers. Song Hye-kyo listens intently, feeling a deep connection to each of them. When it's her turn to speak, she stands up and addresses the group, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I never thought that stepping behind the counter of a cafe for a day would change my life the way it has," she begins. "But I've learned that respect isn't something we should take for granted, it's something we must actively give and demand, no matter what role someone plays in society." She pauses for a moment, allowing the weight of her words to sink in. "I've seen how easy it is to forget the people who work tirelessly behind the scenes. But I've also seen how powerful it is when we take a moment to acknowledge their hard work and treat them with kindness." Her words resonate with the others in the room, and there's a brief silence before someone speaks up. "Your story is inspiring," says one of the celebrities. "You've shown us how one simple act of kindness can make such a huge difference. It's not just about advocating for change, it's about embodying the change every single day." Song Hye-kyo smiles, humbled by the support. "I think we're all in this together. We all have a role to play in creating a culture of respect, and we can start by changing the way we treat the people around us." As the meeting concludes, Song Hye-kyo feels a renewed sense of purpose. The campaign she's been part of is gaining traction, and more people are joining the movement. But it's not just about changing the way the world sees service workers, it's about changing the way we see each other. And the more Song Hye-kyo reflects on her own transformation, the more she realizes that this journey is far from over. It's only just begun. The momentum of the campaign grows, and with each passing day, Song Hye-kyo becomes more immersed in her newfound purpose. She starts to understand that the shift in how people view others doesn't happen overnight, it's a gradual process that requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to challenge ingrained attitudes. The media coverage of her advocacy has also been tremendous, with various outlets praising her not only for her talent but also for her sincerity in championing such an important cause. Interviews, podcasts, and social media posts about her efforts spread quickly, and soon, people from all corners of the world start sharing their own stories about working in service roles and being treated with respect or, unfortunately, the lack of it. One evening, after a long day of filming, Song Hye-kyo sits in her dressing room, scrolling through the messages of support she's received online. There are countless comments thanking her for speaking up for those who often go unheard. Some people share stories of how her campaign has inspired them to treat others with more empathy. Others express their own frustrations with the lack of recognition they've received in their service jobs. But then, amidst the flood of messages, she notices one comment that stands out. It's from a young woman who works as a waitress in a small cafe. The comment reads, "I've been working at a cafe for 3 years. Every day, I'm treated as if I'm invisible, like my job doesn't matter. I've had customers yell at me, complain about things that aren't even in my control, and call me names. I've never felt like anyone cared. But your story made me realize that I matter. Thank you for giving me hope. I'm going to start standing up for myself and demand the respect I deserve." Song Hye-kyo reads the comment multiple times, her heart aching for the young woman's experiences. She can relate so deeply to the feeling of invisibility, having been in similar situations herself. The words of this woman reaffirm why she's been doing what she's doing. The change she's advocating for isn't just about societal perceptions of service jobs, it's about giving every person the power to stand up for themselves and be seen for who they are. She quickly responds to the message, her fingers moving swiftly across her phone screen. You matter. Your work matters. Don't let anyone make you feel less than you are. Stand tall and always demand the respect you deserve. I'm proud of you. As Song Hye-kyo sends the message, she feels a renewed sense of purpose. This is why she's been advocating for respect, because it can change lives, one person at a time. It's not about grand gestures or sweeping societal shifts, it's about the small, everyday moments that come together to make a difference. The next morning, as Song Hye-kyo prepares for her next round of interviews, she takes a moment to reflect. Her experience as a barista was eye-opening in ways she never expected. While it may have been a temporary role, it opened her eyes to the struggles that countless people face, often without recognition or appreciation. She realized that, just like everyone else, they deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. When she arrives at the interview venue, she's greeted by reporters who are eager to hear about her continued involvement in the movement. As the cameras flash and the microphones are passed around, one reporter asks her a question that has been on many people's minds. Song Hye-kyo, your efforts in raising awareness for service workers have been truly inspiring. What's next for you? What more can we do to continue this movement? Song Hye-kyo smiles, her eyes sparkling with passion. The next step is to keep this conversation going. We need to continue speaking up for those who may not have a voice. It's not enough to just say we support them, we need to actively make changes in the way we treat others. That starts with recognizing their worth in every small interaction, whether we're in a cafe, a store, or even just walking down the street. Respect is something that should be a part of every conversation. Her words resonate deeply with the audience, and even the reporters seem to take pause, considering the deeper meaning behind her message. As the interview wraps up, Song Hye-kyo walks away feeling empowered and more committed than ever to her cause. She knows that her work isn't done, this is just the beginning. Later that evening, as she walks down a quiet street on her way home, Song Hye-kyo is approached by a group of young people who have recognized her from the campaign. They shyly ask for a photo, and she agrees with a smile. But as they chat for a moment, one of them, an older man in his late 20s, stops her in her tracks. I work as a delivery driver, he says. Every day, I get treated like I'm invisible. People expect me to be quick, but they don't realize the effort it takes to deliver food safely and on time. I've been doing this job for years, and it gets exhausting. But seeing you speak out, seeing how you're making people see the importance of our work, it gives me hope. Song Hye-kyo is deeply moved by his words. She had no idea how far her message had reached. Your work matters, she says, looking him in the eye. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. You are making a difference, even if it feels invisible sometimes. As the young man thanks her and walks away, Song Hye-kyo feels a sense of fulfillment she hasn't experienced in a long time. This was more than just a campaign, it was about empowering people to realize their value and to never accept being treated as anything less than they deserve. As the days pass, Song Hye-kyo finds herself more and more immersed in the mission she's taken on. Her campaign for respect and dignity has gained even more traction, and the impact she's had on both public perceptions and the lives of individuals in service roles continues to grow. The messages she receives on social media, the conversations she has in person, and the stories people share with her all seem to validate the importance of her work. However, Song Hye-kyo knows that even though the movement has started to gain momentum, there is still so much more to be done. Respect and dignity aren't concepts that can be easily turned into a trend, they are values that must be woven into the fabric of society. She understands that the road ahead will require constant effort and commitment. One morning, as she's sitting in her office preparing for a public speaking engagement, Song Hye-kyo receives an unexpected phone call. It's from a small cafe owner who recently read an article about her advocacy work. The cafe owner, an older woman, expresses how inspired she was by Song Hye-kyo's campaign, especially the story of her brief stint as a barista. I've been running my cafe for years, and I've always tried to make my employees feel valued, the woman says. But there's something different about what you've been saying. You've made me realize how much more we can do as business owners to support and uplift the people who work with us. I want to make a change in my cafe more than just better wages. I want to create a culture of respect for everyone who walks through the door, whether they're a customer or an employee. Can you help us make that happen? Song Hye-kyo listens intently, her heart swelling with pride and gratitude. This is exactly the kind of change she had hoped to inspire. I would love to help, she replies. Creating a culture of respect starts with leadership. When you lead with kindness, empathy, and respect, your employees and customers will reflect that. Together, we can create an environment where everyone feels seen and valued. The conversation leads to a collaboration between Song Hye-kyo and the cafe owner, and they begin working on a plan to implement a respect-driven initiative for the staff. The initiative includes training for employees on how to treat each other with kindness, setting boundaries to ensure that no one feels disrespected, and ensuring that customers are treated with the same level of care and dignity. The cafe's employees are initially unsure about the changes, but after a few weeks of meetings and discussions, they begin to see how these new values are changing the way they interact with each other and with customers. The atmosphere in the cafe shifts, becoming warmer, more positive, and ultimately more welcoming to everyone. The customers notice the difference too, and the cafe begins to receive positive reviews not just for its food and drinks, but for the respect and kindness shown by the staff. One day, as Song Hye-kyo visits the cafe to check on the progress, she is greeted by a few of the regular customers, who are eager to share their experiences. The atmosphere in here has completely changed, one customer says. The staff is so much more welcoming now, and they all seem genuinely happy to be here. It's like a family. Song Hye-kyo smiles, feeling a sense of accomplishment. She can see the difference this simple change in attitude has made, and she knows that it's just one of many small shifts happening in the world as a result of her advocacy. As she leaves the cafe, Song Hye-kyo reflects on how far she's come not just in her career, but in her understanding of what truly matters. She used to measure success in terms of box office numbers or the applause of the crowd, but now, she measures it by the lives she's touched and the impact she's had on those who are often overlooked. Her journey has taught her that the power of respect can transform not only a workplace but an entire community. Later that week, Song Hye-kyo is invited to speak at a large charity event dedicated to workers' rights, specifically for those in the service industry. As she steps up to the podium, she looks out at the crowd: service workers, business owners, activists, and even a few celebrities who have joined the cause. The room is buzzing with anticipation. She begins her speech by sharing her story, the lessons she learned from disguising herself as a barista, the humiliation she endured, and the realization that respect is a universal need. The truth is, she says, we often forget that those who serve us, whether it's the barista behind the counter or the delivery driver at our door, are human beings just like us. They deserve the same respect we expect in our own lives. We are all worthy of kindness, dignity, and respect, regardless of our job, status, or background. The crowd listens intently, and by the time she finishes, there is a deep silence followed by a standing ovation. Song Hye-kyo's eyes fill with emotion, but it's not for the applause, it's for the realization that the message she's been sharing is reaching people in ways she never imagined. The movement is growing, and Song Hye-kyo knows that this is just the beginning. As Song Hye-kyo steps off the stage, the applause still echoing in the room, she feels a deep sense of accomplishment. The campaign has evolved into something far greater than she had initially expected. What started as a personal journey to understand the struggles of service workers has turned into a movement for respect, kindness, and dignity for all. The event marks a milestone, not just for the campaign, but for her own personal growth. She's no longer just a famous actress, she's become a voice for the voiceless, an advocate for those who are too often overlooked. And as she walks through the crowd, she sees the faces of people who are just beginning to understand the importance of treating each other with compassion, no matter their role in society. One of the attendees, a young woman who works as a hotel receptionist, approaches Song Hye-kyo after the speech. "I just wanted to thank you," she says, her voice trembling slightly. "Your words really resonated with me. I've been working in a job where I feel invisible most of the time. But today, you've made me realize that I deserve respect. I don't have to let people treat me badly just because of the job I do." Song Hye-kyo smiles warmly at the young woman, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You are so much more than your job," she replies. "What you do is important, and you deserve to be treated with kindness, just like anyone else. Never forget that." The young woman's eyes well up with tears of gratitude, and for a moment, Song Hye-kyo feels the full weight of her mission. This isn't just about raising awareness, it's about empowering individuals to stand up for themselves, to recognize their own worth, and to never accept being disrespected, no matter where they work or who they are. As the event winds down and Song Hye-kyo prepares to leave, she's approached by a journalist who asks her one final question: "Now that the campaign is making such an impact, what's next for you? Do you plan on continuing this work?" Song Hye-kyo takes a moment to reflect. "I'm not stopping anytime soon," she says, her voice filled with conviction. "The movement is just beginning, and I will continue to advocate for those who are often ignored. This isn't just about making a difference for service workers, it's about creating a culture where respect, kindness, and empathy are at the core of everything we do." As she walks away from the event, Song Hye-kyo feels a renewed sense of purpose. She has sparked a change, but she knows there's still much more to do. The journey is far from over, and she's more determined than ever to continue spreading the message of respect to every corner of the world. Later that night, as Song Hye-kyo relaxes at home, she reflects on her journey, the challenges, the moments of humiliation, and the victories. She thinks about the people she's met along the way, the stories they've shared, and the way they've inspired her to keep going. And as she looks out the window, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance, Song Hye-kyo realizes that the true power of change lies not in fame or recognition, but in the ability to make someone feel seen, heard, and respected. So, if you've made it this far, type empowerment in the comments. Let's all remember that we are all worthy of respect, no matter our job or background, and together, we can create a world where kindness and dignity are always the foundation.